All right, time for me to put my glare. You see the glare? Do you see the glare? My glasses and the lights. Well, I need my glasses, so excuse the glare. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get this party started. I'll just start off by saying welcome. And today we're going to talk about fats, understanding fats. Yeah, this is going to be a very informative session. So if you want to take some notes, by all means, it's going to be beneficial because you're probably not going to remember all of this, but it's going to be some things that I'm going to say regarding the types of fat. And you may want to write some things down so you can remember because it's very important. Um, so you might start off and say, really, we're talking about fat today? But trust me, it's a very interesting topic. So we're going to be talking about visceral and subcutaneous fat and how they differ and how our lifestyle choices can impact both of them. So let's go ahead and get started. The first type we're going to talk about, and I'm going to show some pictures too on a little slide in just a second, but let's talk about subcutaneous fat first. So this fat is the fat that lies right underneath the skin. It's the fat that jiggles when you move. You can pinch subcutaneous fat. It's not as dangerous as visceral fat, but too much of it can still cause a negative impact on your health. It is the most common type of fat in the body and plays several important roles. It plays the role of energy storage. So, subcutaneous fat stores calories that you can use for energy when needed. Insulation, it helps to regulate your body temperature by providing insulation, believe it or not. And it serves as a cushion. So, it's like protection too. It protects underlying tissues from injury and also hormone production. So, subcutaneous fat produces hormones that can affect your metabolism, your blood sugar levels, and other bodily functions. And it is typically distributed throughout the body, including the hips, the thighs, the abdomen, the buttocks. It can be very common in those areas, and it varies in the amount depending on various factors, including genetics, exercise, diet. So you may wonder sometimes, like with women, we all shape differently. You have some women that carry their most fat in their thighs, or they may carry a large amount of fat around the waist, or maybe in the butts. I've seen a lot of women carry weight in their legs, like the lower part of the legs, including the thighs, but they're very small at the top. So, what causes the differences in the shapes? Well, genetics play a huge role, and your diet and your exercise and hormones play a big role in where the fat goes. So, it's important to be able to distinguish the difference between subcutaneous fat and visceral fat. Okay, so we'll get into visceral fat in just a second, but what I want to do first is I want to show a quick picture of subcutaneous and then visceral, and then I'll get into explaining what the visceral fat is. So let's see, let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so subcutaneous, like I said, is the fat that lies right under the skin. It's the one that you can jiggle and pinch, okay? And then visceral fat. Okay, so visceral fat is the fat that lies right underneath the belly, and it is the fat that's stored around your internal organs. And let me just go back to Zoom real quick just to make sure that you all, where is my Zoom? Could you all see the picture? Oh, okay, good, good, good. All right, so let me go back to it. All right. So again, visceral fat is the fat that is, we call it belly fat. It's stored around the internal organs. It's not pinchable. Okay. You can't pinch or squeeze this fat because it's too deep. For people that get like liposuction or whatever, the doctor can't even get to that fat. Okay. So liposuction is only subcutaneous fat removal. It does not get into the visceral fat. okay, because it's around those vital organs. So it's more dangerous. Visceral fat is way more dangerous than subcutaneous fat, and it's linked to all sorts of health problems. If you look at the picture here, it's a really good diagram. The neon yellow is the subcutaneous, the pinchable fat that's right under the skin. And then this blue line here represents the abdominal wall, your abdominal muscle. Right behind that is where visceral fat lives. Okay. This is the fat that's really dangerous. It's close to the heart and all the internal organs, and it causes this belly to protrude out even more so. The subcutaneous fat, of course, can cause the belly to protrude out, but this also can push it out and create a very hard feeling belly. You know, we've all seen the men. Okay. We've all seen the men with we call them beer bellies. Okay. Beer has very little to do with that particular belly problem that we see with men that have the big, hard, it's really hard. That's visceral fat. The hardness that you feel is their abdominal muscle. Okay. It's being pushed out. All the fat behind that muscle, okay, is visceral fat, and it is very, very, very dangerous. Um, so unlike subcutaneous fat, visceral fat is what they call active fat, because it acts like an endocrine organ, secreting hormones and inflammatory substances that can disrupt the normal functions of the body. And again, that's why it's so dangerous. Um, that hard pot belly that we see with people whenever I see it now that I really know what it is, I'm like, oh my goodness, I wonder if that person understands the risk that they're in. The inflammatory chemicals released by excess visceral fat is so dangerous. It can lead to heart disease and stroke. Okay, high blood pressure and cholesterol, all of that is related. Type 2 diabetes. So, visceral fat releases fatty acids into the liver, and it also causes insulin resistance, which is a precursor to diabetes, and even certain cancers. So, some studies have found that a link between that high levels of visceral fat can increase the risk of breast cancer and colorectal cancer, and also dementia. I found that one a little shocking. So, midlife abdominal obesity has been found to be linked with the risk of developing dementia later in life. Isn't that something? So, what causes visceral fat? Okay. What causes? We're spending a little more time talking about the visceral fat because it is the more dangerous of the two. Okay. That buildup of the fat by your organs, that visceral fat is influenced by a couple of factors. Diet being on top of the list. So if you're eating a very high, a diet high in refined carbohydrates, sugars, saturated fats, it's going to contribute to visceral fat storage. Also, if you are sedentary, so if you're not moving, if you're not active, living a more active lifestyle, when you consume calories through your food and you're not burning it off, your body's going to store it as fat, subcutaneous, including visceral fat. Okay, so the body decides which one is going to be. Stress is also a factor. So the stress hormone cortisol can increase the storage of visceral fat. And genetics, that plays a big role in the shape of the body and where the fat goes. Okay, genetics. You can look at family members and you can pretty much determine in certain families if it's going to be the thicker midsection or the heavier rump or whatever it may be. So genetics play a huge role. And hormones, of course, like I said before, changes during menopause that can also cause a storage of fat around the abdomen area, whether it's subcutaneous or visceral. Now, how to measure? How do you determine how much visceral fat you have? Well, the most accurate way to measure visceral fat is with a DEXA scan or an MRI, even. And most of us, we're not paying that kind of money just to find out how much visceral fat we have. So, a simpler method is just to measure your waist. So, the higher your waist measurement, then you're considered a higher risk. So, for men, it's 40 inches, anything above 40. And for women, it's 35 inches. Okay, so you all have heard of BMI, right? You go to the doctor, they measure your BMI, your body mass index. Well, your waist to height ratio is a better way to determine your overall risk factor for certain diseases, better than your BMI. Okay, so keep that in mind because there are people with higher BMIs that they list as obese. And you look at the person, you're like, wait a minute, that person isn't nearly obese. Okay, don't worry about the BMI. Use your weight to waist ratio. Okay. So for women, your waist should be um, no more than 35 inches. If it's above that, then you got more work to do because that's an indication that your visceral fat, your subcutaneous fat is more than it should be. And you want to continue to work on your diet to reduce that. So, reducing visceral fat involves general healthy habits. It responds pretty well to changes to your diet, to your exercise, or whatever. Also, stress management and sleep. But I want you to remember this because these are two very important facts about visceral and subcutaneous fat. First, visceral fat responds better to your diet. Okay, so by maintaining a healthy diet, you want to eat your protein, moderate amounts of protein, healthy fats. Okay, fruits, vegetables, limiting processed foods, and when you eat carbohydrates, make sure they're whole grains. Okay, you want to reduce all of the sugar, eliminate sugar is what I should say, as much as possible, and that's going to help get that visceral fat under control. Okay, so visceral fat responds better to diet. On the other hand, subcutaneous fat responds better to exercise. So, regular physical exercise is going to burn more of that pinchable fat. So, think about this. Have you ever seen, and I see this all the time, I see people in the gym and they're in there all the time, but they're still overweight. But they look like they have muscle. I call it fat muscles. I don't know if you all have seen that, but that fat muscle look is the perfect example of what I'm talking about here. So these people, their body is responding to the subcutaneous fat because they're exercising. So they're losing that, but they're not touching that visceral fat because they don't have their diets in check. So it is very important to have both diet and exercise so that you can target both. Now, if you target with just your diet, you're going to lose subcutaneous fat and visceral fat. That's a fact. Okay? You will lose weight. However, they respond better. Visceral fat responds better to diet, subcutaneous better to exercise. Okay? So just remember that. Very important facts to remember. And when you exercise, you want to make sure that you're mixing it up. You want to do low intensity exercise. Walking is probably the best exercise. We're going to watch a video in just a few minutes regarding how you can target more of the visceral fat with just the proper walking program and fasting together. Okay, resistance training, any type of aerobic or cardiovascular exercises, all of that is going to play a role in you losing both types of fat. Okay, let's get that video on so that you all can learn a little bit more about how to target. Let's see, here we go. And Denise, if you could do me a favor, if there is any problem with the sound or the picture, unmute yourself and please let me know because I don't have my other device set up, so I wouldn't have any way of knowing. So just please do that for me. I'm going to press play now.
2 simple walking techniques to melt your belly fat off fast, and it's based off of science. You can actually target your visceral belly fat, and if you do these right, you can end up with 0% visceral fat. But here is what most fitness influencers won't tell you. Doing it with the right techniques can double your results with zero extra time commitment. And that's because A, research shows that walking taps mainly into fat stores compared to running, and B, it primarily melts off visceral fat, the toxic fat that's wrapped around your organs like sludge. Look at my client Kunter, Brian, and even my client Thomas, and these are all recent, who saw this transformation in 8 weeks. My name is Michael Diamonds. I'm a scientist with a degree in biochemistry and microbiology. I'm a medical doctor and pro natural bodybuilder and your coach. Let's not waste time and let's expose these 2 amazing techniques that I've been using. Side note, technique number 2 gives you 10 times the benefits in just 30 minutes of walking. The Japanese researchers discovered this in 2007, and we'll talk about it a bit more later. First, I need to explain the science behind walking and how it kills visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. Now, the best way.
I got this from TikTok because of their 100-day money-back guarantee, but the results shocked me.
To describe the key differences between burning subcutaneous fat and visceral fat is this fridge. At its core, visceral fat is more rapidly mobilized because it has a greater lipolytic sensitivity, meaning its response to fat breaking signals is higher. So think of it as your refrigerator, easy to access, ready to use. During a walk, your body releases catecholamines, and these are hormones like adrenaline and noradrenaline, which acts as messengers yelling, "Release the fat for fuel." These hormones bind to beta-adrenergic receptors on fat cells, triggering the breakdown of stored fat into free fatty acids that your muscles can burn up for energy. Visceral fat cells have a higher density of these receptors and better blood flow compared to subcutaneous ones, making it like an unlocked fridge full of easy to get snacks compared to subcutaneous fat that is buried deep in a freezer that takes forever to get access to. But this is the best part. We can speed up the fat loss process with 2 extra techniques without adding any time. So personally, technique 1 and 2 combined is the most deadly for visceral fat. Now, take a second now, and if you followed any of my advice over the last couple of weeks or months on just simply walking alone to lose belly fat, I want to know from you, has that helped? And let me know in the comments if yes. Share with me like how many steps you've been doing and how much you've lost, and if no, share with me what you've been doing, right? And I think your story holds so much more weight compared to what I'm saying here because it will inspire just one more person to do it. So extremely worth it. Walking technique number 1. Eating restricted walking. This technique leverages your body's natural fat burning windows to specifically target visceral fat. I'll tell you how my clients do it, and I'll also explain how it works. First, I want you to open your Android device or your Apple device and open up the Health app. See what's your monthly average step count, and from that number, simply add 1,000 steps per day, or do that every week and stick to that. So let's say you see that your average is 5,000, add another 1,000 to that, and you can decide if you want to do it daily until you get to 10K or every week. Now, this range for my clients works. So that's between 12,000 to 15,000 steps daily. And this is what I call the fat burning zone for them. And when my clients are in this range, they lose 1 to 2 pounds. That's coming off guaranteed. This is obviously when your diet's in check. Now, once you've built that habit of walking and you're getting 10,000 to 15,000 steps daily, I want you to do a portion of these steps when you're in a fasted state. Let me explain why. After a meal, postprandial, you elevate your insulin levels. High insulin means that your body's taking the glucose and putting it where it needs and potentially putting you in a fat storage mode and reducing fat burning. And in opposite, when insulin is low, it promotes fat breakdown, and this can facilitate fat loss provided that you're in an overall energy deficit. Now, this chart here depicts it nicely of energy balance throughout the day. The green area represents lipogenesis, the 4 formation of fat occurring in response to a meal. And the blue area represents lipolysis, the breakdown of fat, occurring in response to fasting between meals and during sleep. Over a 24-hour period, these will be balanced, assuming you're not consuming more calories than you expend. And as you can see, the biggest blue portion comes when you sleep. So this is what I want you to do. We want to extend the blue area by waking up and going on a fasted walk. So for example, let's say the day before, you walk 10 to 15,000 steps that day. I want you to have your final meal at 8 p.m. The next day, wake up and I want you to have a black coffee. And after that black coffee, go for a 30 to 60-minute walk at breakfast, right? Let's call this a breakfast walk. And this helps you in your 12 to 14-hour fasted window and having a workout. And this is exactly why it works so well with melting fat, especially visceral fat. You're pairing walking, which taps mainly into fat stores, but on top of that, you're doing it in a fasted state. And this has been proven by science. A 2024 systemic review and meta-analysis of 11 randomized controlled trials, a total of 277 adults with obesity, found that combining intermittent fasting with exercise, for example, aerobic training during a fasting period, reduced visceral adipose tissue more effectively than just doing exercise alone. And here's what most people don't understand. Visceral fat is metabolically active. It produces inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. They make you hungrier, they make you fatter, they inflame you more, and they also increase disease risk. But visceral fat has one weakness. It responds incredibly well to fasted exercise. When you haven't eaten for 10 to 12 hours, your liver glycogen is depleted, your insulin levels are at rock bottom, and your body has no choice but to burn fat for fuel. And here's the key, it'll specifically target visceral fat. And with this technique, I recommend that you aim to get 60% of your steps during your fasted morning walk, and then 40 minutes of it taking the stairs, parking further, doing walking meetings. And here are some of the ways to maximize these results. Try walking backwards, right? Now, this is if you're a pro, and do this for 2 to 3 minutes of walking, right? Do it on a treadmill and do it slow. It strengthens your knees, it will improve your balance, and it burns 30% more calories. Walking on different terrain like sand, grass, varying hills, surfaces that engage different muscle groups also prevents adaptation, like walking in a park, for example. This is also a pro tip. Post-meal mini walks. After lunch and dinner, take 10 to 15 minutes worth of a walk. And this isn't for fat burning, but it's amazing for blood sugar control and digestion. So instead of just sitting there, your body's actually taking the food and utilizing that glucose, which is equally important. And I highly recommend that you track everything. Use a device like an Apple Watch to track your steps. And one of my favorite apps is Pedometer Plus. And seeing progress like this keeps me and you motivated, and it's a nice way to gamify your experience in getting steps throughout the day. Let me know, guys, if you guys appreciate the science behind the videos and you guys want more of these. Just leave the video with a gentle thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. But let's continue on. Right now, I'm actually gamifying it with my clients. We're using an app called Step Up, and the first person prize for the most steps in the month is $1,000. And we have some people in there getting 40,000 steps. Now, that's not what I'm recommending for people to do, but what I've really seen is that it pushes people out of their comfort zone. It's a great challenge to push your limits and encourage competition. But the bigger picture is that everyone has a healthier walking hygiene, and you essentially after this month create a new normal for you. And here's why walking beats running, for example, for fat loss. When you walk at a moderate pace, about 70% of those calories come from fat. When you run in the same distance, only about 50% of that comes from fat and the rest comes from carbs. That's because a low to moderate intensity, like a brisk walk, your muscles can generate all the energy they need through aerobic metabolism, which relies heavily on fats. As you speed up, like in a jog or a run, you demand for quick energy outbursts, and that usually will come from carbohydrates. You shift towards carbohydrate oxidation because carbs can be converted to your body's usable energy, called your ATP, more readily. Now, this way, we keep you in an optimal fat burning zone, so you can just walk daily without destroying your joints, burning out, or also needing more recovery days. Now think of it this way. Running
If you care about your health or the health of the environment, you need to know that not all meat is created equal. In fact,
it's like a sports car, fast, flashy, and it's also high maintenance. And walking is like a hybrid, right? Efficient, reliable, and gets you where you need to go without any drama. Now, beyond the fat loss, these walking techniques can also incur incredible health benefits. Walking increases dopamine production, improving your mood. This is why you feel better after a walk. It's incredible for your brain chemistry. And regular walking has been shown by Stanford researchers to boost your creativity by 60%. And this is a secret even Steve Jobs realized, and why he's so famous for walking meetings. Walking will also lower your cortisol, your stress hormone, and that activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. And lower cortisol also means lower belly fat storage, and that's not all. Consistent walking improves your insulin sensitivity, making your body more efficient at using carbs instead of fats. But now we need to pair it with the second technique to really maximize fat loss, which is the Japanese walking technique. Now, hear me out. We've all heard the benefits of walking 10,000 steps to get lean and stay lean, but what if I told you that the researchers in Japan discovered a way to get 10 times the benefits in just 30 minutes of walking? Now, the researchers at the Shinsei University in Japan in 2007 discovered something called the interval walking technique. You're basically getting many of the benefits from high intensity interval training without coughing out your lungs. For all my people in Japan or who've been there, let me know how much of Japan is actually practicing this. I know I've been doing it and it's been a game changer. So I'll explain the science first behind how it works, and then I will also explain how to do it. So firstly, I want you to do a 5-minute gentle warm-up walk. Then I want you to alternate between a 3-minute brisk walk where you can talk, but it's challenging to hold a conversation. This is a speed of 4 to 5 miles per hour, which is about 6.4 to 8 kilometers per hour, followed by 3 minutes of moderate walking where you can hold a conversation. This is roughly 3 kilometers to 5 kilometers per hour. Now I want you to repeat the cycle 5 times, and that gives you a total of 30 minutes. I do recommend a 5-minute cooldown. So here's the science. It can boost your VO2 max, your body's ability to use oxygen, by up to 15% in just 4 to 5 months. In case you didn't know, the more you improve your VO2 max, the longer you'll live. That's like upgrading your engine to just burn fat more efficiently, even when you're just hanging out. And what's even crazier is that it can improve your blood pressure by 3x. And it has a significant improvement in those people who have prediabetes and are also type 2 diabetic. And it can shrink your waist by 6 centimeters. That's over 2 inches. And it can also improve your leg strength. And that's just not fat loss. That's a stronger you, that's a leaner you, and that's a you that's gonna live a lot longer. So here are some tips to further optimize this technique for fat burning. Number 1, when you're walking, I want you to think about your glutes and engage them. Every time you push off of your back foot, try and think about squeezing your glutes. This will activate the largest muscle group and also increase calorie burn by up to 12%. Now, be careful, don't overdo it because then your back can start hurting, but just think about your glutes when you're pressing off. Now, just do this for a few minutes to build up pace. Pump up your arms, right? Walk. Think of those ladies you see on TV like speed walking, right? And studies have shown that this increase in energy expenditure will also increase fat loss. I want you to maintain perfect posture. Keep your heads up, shoulders back, chest out, core engaged. And this will ensure that you're recruiting the right muscles to prevent injury. It also will make your back strong. 25% more muscle fibers will be engaged, and it will allow you to burn calories more significantly. And the beauty of this technique is that it feels effortless compared to running, but it triggers superior fat burning. And now you know the 2 techniques to be able to help you. My clients are either doing one or the other, or they're doing both for maximum fat loss. I have never heard someone say that they do not get amazing results by walking more. Even my client that I just had recently, I told her, hey, let's just go to 15,000 as an experiment for a week. And I encourage you, just do it as an experiment. 15,000 for a week, do a little bit of fasted cardio, and with the interval walking training, you can just maybe do it every second day. and you will be shocked by the results. But of course, guys, with fat loss and also losing your visceral fat, you need to have the diet paired. I just created this video to show you how to easily calculate your macros and also how to build your own meal plan. So I highly recommend you watch this video next.
All right. Okay, so that video, I wanted to show you all that video because I thought it was very informative, especially what he said about eating restricted walking. And this is something I used to do a while ago, and I stopped because it just got busy. But I decided I'm going to start doing that again because it is a game changer. It really is. So when you eat your last meal at night, in the evening, or whenever your last meal is, mine was at 6 o'clock actually. Um, so when I get up in the morning, I'm going to get on my walking pad in the morning and do about 30 minutes. That's eating restricted walking. So in other words, I'm walking in a fasted state. Now I'm exercising in a fasted state. Not only am I exercising, but I'm doing low impact exercise and walking, which is, again, as he said, one of the best ways to target fat. Um, so that's something that I highly recommend for you all. Now, exercising in the morning is hard for some folks. I know it's hard for me. First of all, I don't like to get up too early. So whether it's you being challenged with getting up in the morning, or whether maybe you don't have a problem getting up in the morning, maybe you just have a super busy morning and adding one more thing just seems impossible, you know? So think about that. But even if it's just 10 minutes, you think 10 minutes will make a big difference in your life? If you're doing it every other day or even every day, it would. So don't think that you have to do 30 minutes, you got to do 40 minutes or nothing at all. No, even if you did about a 10-minute walk, that still would be sufficient enough to get you started. And then also adding to your daily step count. I've talked about this before. When I was in New Orleans, we did a step challenge, and I was so motivated because I could see the steps that others were taking. And I am definitely a competitive type person. So I was on the move all the time trying to keep up with others. And I actually came in third place. I could not get that first place for nothing, y'all. There is no way I could have taken 40,000 steps in a day. That was crazy. But there was somebody that was doing it. I think he was a runner. But anyway, challenge yourself, team up with family members or whatever. If you have an iPhone, I know there's a feature in there where you can share your steps. I'm sure that Android has exactly the same. So, just figure out what you can do to challenge yourself to get more steps in. So go to if you have your phone with you right now, go to your health app in your phone, or if you have a pedometer or something. What are you using to track your steps? And if you're not tracking your steps, why aren't you? You need to be, because you would be shocked. You would be shocked, I'm telling you. So make sure that you are tracking your steps every day. And the goal is 10,000. That's the goal. However, for me personally, 10,000 is not enough. I need more. I've been doing 10,000. Actually, my average is about 12,000. So for me, I need to be hitting between 15 and 20,000 steps a day in order to challenge myself. But for you, it may be different. So if your average is about 5 or 6,000, then add 1,000 to it and challenge yourself by getting additional steps in. So staying active is key to staying on top of fat storage. Okay. And really, that is really what this is all about. All right. So, lastly, I want to discuss the 36-hour fast. I actually, like I said, I finished my last meal at 6 o'clock today. So, I am going to do a 36-hour fast, and I'm inviting any of you to join if you would like. I'm going to record, do videos of what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, and so forth and so on. And if you want to do the same, by all means, share it in the group chat if that's what you would like to do. It actually makes it more interesting if you do that, and it also gives you something to look back on. So I've done this many, 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 many times before. And it's just something that I haven't done probably in about 2 months, though. So I said, you know what, let me get back to it. It is something that actually is a reset. Okay. It is an instant reset. So if you've fallen off or if you feel stuck, maybe you haven't fallen off, but your body feels stuck. It's another way to get your body to kind of tap back into the fat burn. Okay. So a 36-hour fast is not difficult when you think about it, really. So I stopped eating at 6 o'clock. Okay. When I get done with this session, I'm going to take a shower. I am going to prepare for bed. I'm going to sleep through the night. I'm going to get up tomorrow morning at about 6 in the morning, get ready for work. What I have to do is stay busy. That is the key. If you are sitting at home, if it's a day that you're off, you're going to struggle. You have to stay busy. So it's best to be engaged in something that's going to have you busy for the day so that you're not twiddling your thumbs thinking about food. Around hour 12, 13, 14, you are going to get hungry. Your ghrelin or whatever that hormone name is going to start causing that grumble in the stomach. Okay, you're going to start feeling a little hunger, but you got to push through. Pushing through means drinking water. You can drink black coffee. Okay, and if you feel that you cannot do it, then do bulletproof coffee. That's going to allow you to mimic a fast, but please know that's not an actual real fast, but it is going to mimic a fast, meaning you're not going to elevate your insulin levels. Okay. So it's kind of like cheating a little bit, but it's a cheat that's allowed. So if that's something that you need to do to help push you through, then by all means, do it. Okay. Definitely taking in electrolytes, trace minerals. All of your supplements are still allowable while you're fasting. It's not going to kick you out. There are some things that you shouldn't drink while you're fasting. Like I'm not going to have my chlorophyll, and I'm not going to have my marine glow, which is my collagen drink, because they both have about 15 calories or so each. So I'm not going to consume those because I feel that might trigger a little more insulin than what I'm willing to do right now. So I'm not going to have those. So just be very mindful that the drinks that you consume are calorie-free drinks, like black coffee or black tea or any type of tea, hibiscus tea, no sweeteners or anything like that. And then lastly, once again, I'm going to repeat the fact that you can have bulletproof coffee, even though it does have calories. It is so high in fat, it will keep your insulin levels low and it'll help kind of get rid of the hunger. Okay. So after fasting all day tomorrow, going to be at work busy. Hopefully I have a super busy day at work tomorrow. When I get home, okay, once I take my shower and go to bed, the very next morning, which is Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. is when the 36 hours are over. Okay. So that's kind of how it works. Depending on how I feel, normally what I do is I push through because I can't eat at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's a little too early for me. So I'll probably be pushing through to about 40, maybe 42 hours for my fast. But it's a personal choice if you decide to do that or not. Okay. And the whole thing is a personal choice, actually. If you have never fasted before, please stay engaged with the group. I'll be sending little tips. I'll be sending my videos. If you have any questions, reach out to me personally, one-on-one. Fasting is pretty safe. However, if you have very low crashing blood sugar issues, it could be a problem. Okay, so you have to be very mindful of that. Diabetics, can a diabetic fast? By all means, yes. Most of my clients are either pre-diabetic or diabetic. And most of you guys have been fasting. Okay. Denise, I know you just did a 5-day fast. Okay. 5 days. She is the OG of fasting. I haven't even done a 5-day fast. The most I've done is 3.5 days. I've not done a 5 day. So you the OG up in here for fasting. And Denise is a diabetic. So boom, there you go. It's doable. It is definitely doable. Denise, can you unmute yourself and tell us what that 5-day fast was like for you?
It was awesome. And there was only one day when I had a little hunger
Mm-hmm.
and I just had some bone broth
Mm-hmm.
and I was fine the full days. My blood sugar stayed level. I was very coherent. I had very good clarity. It's only when I introduce food that everything gets muddy,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
and
what
it's
most people
amazing to
say.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing to me. But no food, it was just perfect. It was great.
Yeah, mental clarity is probably one of the most talked about things with fasting that long.
Yep,
Like mentally, you are on top of the world. Isn't
yep. That's
that
it.
amazing?
That's it.
That is
Yes.
amazing. And you
Mhm,
wake up every day and some weight has come off, like every single day.
mhm,
Because think about it, if you're not consuming food, you still need calories to live.
mhm,
Where's your body pulling the calories from? After it has exhausted your glycogen stores, it taps into fat. Okay? So
mhm,
that's what happens. It has no choice. You force your body to tap into fat when you do an extended fast because it has to keep you alive. So it's going to tap into your fat to give you the energy you need to do the daily functions. And if you are walking, please do not do any high intensity exercise, ladies, please, while you're fasting. Walking is good enough. If you're walking, then your body's going to tap even more into your fat reserves.
mhm.
Okay. Do you all have any questions about the 36-hour fast? Marie, I know you said you're going to try it. So just stay engaged with the group. And if you have any personal questions, make sure you reach out to me. Um, and I'm sure Denise will also be a lifeline if you want to ask her some questions, maybe how she did it. I'm sure she'll be willing to give you some tips too, okay? But I invite you all to try it. Denise, you had a question?
Just the one thing I would say is
Hmm.
the trace minerals are very, very important,
Yes, they are. Yes,
and
they
the
are.
electrolytes. Yeah.
Very, because if not, if you're not taking the electrolytes and the trace minerals in, which the one at full script is an electrolyte and it has the trace minerals already in there. Okay.
Mhm,
Um, but if you're not taking that in while you're fasting, you may have some pretty serious symptoms. Some people experience severe leg cramps, um, heart palpitations, extreme exhaustion, fatigue. So make sure you're taking your electrolytes in. And if you do not have it and you're starting this fast, at least get you some Celtic sea salt or Redmond sea salt because it has minerals, it has trace minerals in it. Take in the salt with water, an eighth of a teaspoon with some water, okay? That will also help, all right? Gatorade and all these other things, that's not real electrolytes, okay? That's just loaded in sugar and it's not real. So don't think that Gatorade or um, what's that, the hydration IV, or they have a couple of them out here that you can get at like drugstores and stuff. That stuff is loaded in sugar and it's not real electrolytes, not real quality electrolytes. Okay, so be mindful of that. In conclusion, lady, I'm going to allow y'all to ask questions in just a few minutes. I just want you all to keep in mind the different types of fat, subcutaneous and visceral, and what they are. If you need to look back at this recording to, complete your notes or whatever, please by all means do so. But knowing the difference is a game changer. Okay, and remember what I said about the tip. So that visceral fat responds to diet. Okay. And that subcutaneous fat, which is the pinchable fat, responds quicker to exercise. So remember those two things. Okay. All right. So now questions, comments, anything. Denise, you had your hand up.
Well, just a minute ago, you said the 1/8 teaspoon of Celtic salt. How much water?
About eight, between 8 and 16, depending on how salty you can handle the taste.
Okay.
Some people, for me, I need to do about 16 ounces of water. I don't like salty water, but an
Yeah.
eighth of a teaspoon is not a lot. It's not a whole lot,
Okay.
and that would be needed a couple of times throughout the day. You can't just do it once and think that you're good. You would have to do it a couple of times if you don't have the full script electrolyte powder. I can't seem to keep that because my husband, he drinks it like he drinking Kool-Aid. This man is drinking electrolytes all the time. And I do mean all the time because he works in a warehouse. So with sweating and everything, he drinks it all the time. Um, so it's good even when you're not fasting, ladies. Okay. Did anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I do.
Marie?
I had a question because it's not clear for me yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I start walking about 6:30 every morning.
Ooh,
I don't come home until I've walked, did my 5 miles, and then I'll
get
come
down,
home.
Marie. You go. I love that.
Well, but my point is, I struggle now to not eat something until noon. For me,
Mm-hmm.
that's a struggle, but that's what I'm choosing to do. But I'm hungry. Just want you to know that I am hungry.
Okay,
So
so let me
I'm
ask you a
thinking now that I'm
question.
gonna.
Let me ask you a question real quick before you finish. What time
Mhm.
do you finish eating at night?
Oh, I 7.
By 7. Okay, so
Hmm.
you're done eating by 7. When you get up in the morning, you're doing your walk,
Yes.
okay? On fasted, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you consume coffee or anything before that walk?
No, not before the
Okay.
walk. No, nothing
Okay.
before
All
the
right.
walk.
So it is truly a fasted walk.
Yes.
And then when you get back from your walk, a couple of hours later, you're eating.
Yes.
That's the perfect situation. That is absolutely perfect. So you're already doing what he referred to in his video as eating restricted walking. You're already doing that. Yeah, you're already doing that. So that's really good.
Oh,
That's
well, good.
excellent. That is excellent. And if you can't hold out till 12, that's fine. Because
Okay.
you've already extended your fasting and maximized it by walking in a fasted state.
Okay, good. That's what
So
I
that
had to
is
get clear in my
excellent.
mind.
Yeah,
Because
that is excellent.
now I'm gonna probably die doing this fasting. I'm telling
No,
you
no, no,
right.
you better not die.
I'm gonna do it.
You better
But
not.
it just seems like that's gonna be difficult not to have anything but, what we talked about, liquids, you know.
Right.
But
Water,
I'm gonna do it.
electrolytes, black coffee, and if you have to, if you must, you can do bulletproof coffee. Okay? But the thing is being sure that your blood sugar doesn't drop too low. Okay? So you have to be very mindful of that. So I would ask you to please keep an eye on your blood sugar levels to make, do you monitor your blood sugar?
Not at all.
Okay, you don't
I
have to, you're
drop.
not a diabetic.
I am not, but I am
It,
pre-diabetic.
you're pre, okay, so
But
that's
I wrote,
good. You're not
oh,
a diabetic, so very good. So that kind of helps me feel a little bit better regarding your blood sugar getting too low. If you're taking any type of medication, for prediabetes, that comes into play also because the medication helps to keep the blood sugar levels low. And if you're not eating, that keeps it even lower. So you might drop too low. So you got to mind your medication also.
okay.
Okay, so that's another tip, ladies. If you're on medication, anything that's going to lower blood sugar, then this fast is going to lower blood sugar also. So you really, really, really may need to talk to your doctor first. Okay, which is always a good idea to talk to your doctor first. If you can't get in and speak with your doctor, then you definitely need to make a good decision regarding your medication while you're doing this. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Very good question. Denise, is your finger up? I can't
No,
tell. No, you're
no,
good.
just
Okay.
just sitting here.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you was doing like this.
No, no, no.
All right. Okay, Linda, you got a question. Awesome.
Yes, how is everybody doing? I know I
Hi,
came in
Linda.
late.
That's all right. You're here. That's all that matters.
So the keto electrolyte that
Hmm.
has the trace mineral in it, that what you're
Yes,
saying?
it does. Hmm.
Okay, I
It
can't
does.
hardly, I don't have my glasses to read it. That's why I was like, let me check to see.
Yeah, it does. I know that company just recently changed the label, but I just recently bought one. It was like I said, George is drinking mine up. But yeah, it has it in there.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So
Uh-huh, Denise.
so I'll check mine because I ended up buying trace mineral product from Dr. Berg.
His
Be-
already has it. His has it
because
too.
the keto that I had, the electrolyte didn't include what came from him.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I have both.
His does definitely have it. And you know what? One thing I like about his and the one that I got from Full Script, they both have 1,000 milligrams of potassium, which
Yeah.
is highly recommended that you get high levels of potassium. So
Mhm.
that's what I like about both of those. But yeah, his definitely has the trace minerals in it too. Okay. Ladies, thank you so much for coming. If we don't have any other questions, then I look forward to connecting with you all throughout the next 36 hours or so, and keeping you up to date on the fast. And you all keep me up to date. If you are doing the 36-hour fast, by all means, please stay in contact with me. Let me know how you're feeling and how things are going. And if you need to text me or call me outside of the group, by all means, do that also. I want to make sure you do this safely. Okay? All
I'm
right.
doing.
So I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will talk with y'all soon. Get to fasting. Let's do it, ladies. Let's do it. Y'all have a
Okay.
good evening, okay?
You all too. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.